Hello, Salvadoran warrior here. I know I've been gone for a whole week, but you know, work, Monster Hunter. Yes, Monster Hunter. It came. I was so happy that we got to play a Monster Hunter game on the go finally, and now it took over my life. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I'm also a fan of Darkest Dungeon. So here I am, here to make another class mod character, and this time, today, will be the most unique one, known as the Thorn, a blind duelist who is very unique. It's really hard to explain until I talk about the combat skills. But until then, um, this is what we're going to talk about today. So sit back and I don't know, hear me out on this character. If you've seen this character on the Steam store slash workshop, saw the character's name and didn't think it was that interesting, but I'm gonna tell you that she's interesting. So, like most of our reviews, we talk about the quirks, base stats, resistances, combat skills, camping skills, trinkets, strategies, and of course I show her off a little bit. This one will be a little different though because I'm gonna show a small clip of her passive role, and then the the small clip that I usually post that shows what the heroes can do in combat on the field. It will be all offense because it was kind of fun, but her passive strat is a little more beneficial. But I'll talk about that later. Let's get right into it. So, as you can see, her base stats revolves around her HP. She has amazing accuracy. Dodge is okay naturally. Crit is okay naturally. And she does damage pretty decently with decent speed as well. Keep in mind, this character is blind. Why do I say that? Because her resistances over to her trap, well, look man, when you pick her up from level 0, her trap chances are like 0. She can't disarm traps, obviously, because she's blind. But look at all these other resistances. She can tank all these things, except for the death blow. That's something that's gonna be lingering on most heroes, as I said many times. But she can tank pretty well for a blind person. Just so you know, this accuracy number right here is gonna be really important with the next thing I'm gonna talk about, which is her combat skills. So long story short, she can tank and she can do amazing damage, but I'm just gonna tell you right now, most of her combat skills, her offensive ones at least, have really low accuracy. And you might be telling yourself, didn't in your previous video, Paul, you say that any moves that has accuracy below 100 is considered terrible? And the answer is yes. I still stand by that statement. But this is where this accuracy number comes into play, and it usually sort of balances out. So just try to keep this number lingering in your head as I go over the accuracy numbers for each combat skill. Now that I got that out of the way, let's finally get into her combat skills. Her first combat skill is this one, Thrust. It is a melee attack that can be used in positions 1 and 2 and can hit the enemies from positions 1 and 3. Its base accuracy is 70. See, I told you, really low. With a crit mod of 9%. However, when the enemies are marked, she gets a plus 20 points of accuracy. Now, this is where things get very confusing, and I'll explain really quickly. In defense mode, she does negative 50 damage as a penalty, but has a high chance of inflicting stun. And of course, if the enemies are marked, she gets a 20% skill chance of stunning the enemies if marked. Now, if she's in her offensive mode, she'll do 100% full damage if the enemy is marked. This ability is available in both stances. So, the gimmick that the Thorn has is that she has her walking stick, and whenever she has her walking stick, it's in defense mode. And where the move ability is supposed to be is replaced with her stance changes. Her stance changes is where she reveals to have a hidden blade in her walking stick, and she'll get into like a fencer pose. Once she's in that offensive pose, she's in her offensive mode, and she gets a repose. And her reposes are like really, 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 really powerful. But like power, there's always a flaw. And that flaw is if she gets hit, she gets out of her offensive mode and she's just not doing anything. Plus the repose doesn't last that long if she's hit. You'll have to reactivate that offensive mode again, but thankfully it doesn't take up a turn. Now the first time you activate her offensive mode, that takes up a turn. So just keep all that in mind when deciding to use the Thorn character. Now that I got out of the way and that you understand what defense mode and offensive mode is, let's continue. The next combat ability is Single Out. Single Out is a range ability which has 100 points of accuracy and doesn't really do that much damage. It bypasses guard, so she has the ability to mark those who are in guard mode, and of course she can also de-stealth enemies that are, stealth. That's only in her defense mode. In her offensive mode, she can break a guard if they're guarding and they'll still be marked, and they'll receive 10% of crits received. I also got to mention, if once she de-stealths the enemy in her defensive mode, she can give them negative 10 points of accuracy. So really powerful stuff. Like I said, this move can be used in all positions, and she can hit the same from the enemy side too. This ability is available in both stats. Now, offensive or defensive, you want to have these two no matter what. They're going to be something that is going to be really helpful to have. Having the ability to mark somebody with this, and then on your next turn, you can choose to get into offensive mode, which you have to waste a turn, and then when it's your turn and if it's still marked, you can do this. Obviously, if this is not obvious enough, this character will be really, really good with her mark synergy team, but I'll get to the strats later. For now, if she's in that marker team, these abilities would be really, really, really powerful. So I want to talk about her defensive abilities first before I start talking about her offensive abilities. Now, she only has 2 defensive abilities. The first one being Blossom. Blossom is a combat skill that can be used in positions 2 to 4, and she can give herself 25% of protection with 6 points of healing. Now, if she's guarding or one of the allies are guarding somebody, they'll receive 6 points of HP. This is only available in her defensive mode. Yep, you heard it right. If she's with a team and the first team is guarding and you decide to guard too, everybody gets a heal. If it's just her, she'll only heal herself and the person she's guarding. But you want to activate this anyway, because the next combat skill that I'm going to reveal is going to save her life with that 25% of protection. And when she gets hit, it won't hurt as much. In fact, she'll just tank it, period, because of that 25% protection. And if you give her the right trinkets, she can even have more protection. But I don't have that because my strategy for this character is a little different, but I'll talk about that later. Anyways, the next combat skill is this one, Hearken. Hearken is a combat skill that can be used in positions, but it can be used in all positions. And she can guard an ally. Now she'll de-stress herself by 7 points, and of course, she'll do no damage. Her accuracy will be lowered, but it'll activate a repose, and this repose is actually pretty cool. If the enemy decides to hit your target, and you block the hit, you'll be able to mark them. Now keep in mind, if you don't kill the enemy like right on time, and the guard ability ends, the mark part will end as well. Now this one's really good because if you guess who they're gonna go after, and it's usually the healer or your frontliner, you can block and they'll decide to hit, and you'll be able to at least mark an entire team in one turn. But that's if you play your cards right. But I usually like this one because it's pretty funny, and yeah, man. Marking an entire team like that with a mark synergy team is always the best. And you know, you can just have a lot of fun wrecking damage with the help of the Thorn lady. And I don't know. And if the character needs healing, you already know what to do. And if you want to inflict some damage, you can like buy some time with the stunning ability, or you can just mark some more on those who didn't hit your target. So you pretty much got a variety of how to mark or what to stun. This is just basically autopay for more marking, and then healing to support your target, and a little bit of yourself. Really good stuff. But what if you want to do the funner stuff? Yeah, the funner stuff. So this is where we're going to start talking about her offensive abilities. Like I said, she has a button next to the move section, and it will waste a turn when activating her offensive move. And I forgot the numbers. I should have wrote it down, but it's in the description for the for this character. So if you want to know the numbers, just go to the link in the description that I'll leave, and you can look them up yourself. Because when I started doing her offensive stuff before she became champion, it ended up being really, really fun to do. But also, there's a high risk to it, which you'll see very soon. So, the first offensive move is called Wilt. Wilt is an accuracy move that can, it's a combat skill that can be used in positions 2 to 4 and can hit in positions 1 to 4 on the enemy side. It has an accuracy base of 85 with negative 70 penalty damage, but there's a crit mod for 7%, and of course if they're marked, they'll have an accuracy of 20 points, and on hit will inflict bleed by 6 points for 3 rounds. And of course, you know, if other enemies getting, you know, if they're behind the enemy, they'll also have a 33% chance of getting bled too. And on the self, she'll give 5 points of speed, which is really, really nice. However, the buff only lasts for 1 round. So the next round, you'll get it, and then it'll just disappear. It's only available in the offensive stance, and I think this move is okay. It's not amazing, but I'll tell you what, if you're for the bleed, then by all means, go for it. 6 points like that is really, really amazing stuff to have. And if you throw, you know, the abuser guy on your team, you know what I'm talking about. You'll do a lot of more bleeding damage. You might even get it to 10 if you're lucky. So I recommend this. It can hit in any positions. Why pass it up? For a blind character, this is really, really good. The next combat skill is Preformate. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's a combat skill that can be used in positions 1 to 2 and can hit in enemies' positions from 1 to 3. It has an accuracy base of 70, and this move has a cut of negative 30%, which is not so bad. So it's a really strong hit with 12 points of accuracy, 12% of crit mod. Like most marked characters, marked enemies that gets hit with this, well, the Thorn will get 20 points of accuracy, and it armor pierces, just 30% of it. The debuff is that the blood resistance that the enemies have will lose 33% of it. Now, again, for a bleeding team, this is like really, really, really good. You just gotta make sure you have someone that's gonna be marking. And then, of course, her reposes comes in, and that's also really good too. But the thing is, right? If I remember correctly from my experiences using this character in her offensive move, when she's reposing, she's also getting stressed out too. So on hit, she'll, get stressed, and when she decides to get back in there, she'll even get more stressed out because she's blind. So that's basically the whole gimmick. You go repose only to have a good chance of losing the repose, getting stressed all the time. But at the same time, these type of moves can hopefully end the match quicker. That's basically what you're trying to do with the Thorn character. Mark a whole bunch of enemies and try to get rid of them as fast as you can with the help of your teammates. But I'll talk about the strategies very soon. We're getting close to the end. The last combat skill is Dare. It's a move that can be used in many positions, and it could pull her forward. What happens is that she marks herself. She gives herself on her reposes 25% of more damage with a 10% crit and more dodge too. Also, she clears the marks off your team. Excuse me. This can only be used in the offensive mode. Dare's really fun to use. There's another thing I remember with the reposes. It's not weak, but it's not strong either. So, giving yourself a buff with the Dare is really, really good. And don't worry about positioning, because this character's abilities can be used in different positions. The one thing you want to be considerate is, most of the characters in the Darkest Dungeon, some of them are position dominant on some things. Like the leper always needs to be in position 1. There's some characters that need to be in position 4. And then for those special cases, if you're using those trinkets, may also feel like for an example, if you're using that little paper that the vessel has, which makes her really strong in position 2, you want to make sure she stays in position 2. And if you get the Thorn in, this character and you use Dare, and you push the vessel off position 2 to position 3, it can lead to some messy strategies. So my opinion is only use this move if you have a teammate that can move back into that position. And it doesn't matter what position it is. It could be in positions 3, 4, 1. It don't matter. You just got to make sure you're ready for it, because this move is just really, 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 really good. Overall, I already told you that for the defense part, this is what you want. But for your offensive stuff, you can have this. You can also have this. Or you can have this. Or if you don't really care about the marking stuff, well, actually, you want to care about the marking stuff, but if you feel like someone does the better marking than you do, this is also fine as well. But out of paranoia, this is something you kind of want for this, because this move alone in the offensive ability, really good. 100% damage is something you cannot pass up. Everything else is just a chance to bleed. I also wouldn't recommend bringing her to the ruins unless you do this. If you bring her to the ruins like this is perfect. This is really, really good. Now that I'm done talking about the combat skills, I can finally get over with the camping skills. So as you can already tell, I didn't bother buying these two because why? Just fucking why? But the other combat skills, I'll let you be the judge. The first camping skill is Hone Senses. It's a time cost 3. And for the entire party, everyone does 20% of damage if the enemy is marked. Now, everything else, if the torch is lit below 76, you get a +5 dodge. Same thing if the torch is lit below 51, torch lit below 26, or even a 1. Everybody gets a +5 dodge. This lasts for 4 battles. I really don't like where this is going, unless you're playing those dimly lit runs, which, Jesus, it's pretty hard. But if you're one of those people that are really paranoid on torches and you just keep lighting it after you get to 75, it's okay. Because what makes this okay, what makes this not terrible, is that the entire party gets a 20% boost of damage if the enemy is marked. And since you're already going to be running a marked synergy team with this character, oh man, the damage, it's insane. You want this, you're gonna get this, man. you're gonna have a lot of fun with this character here, man. It's amazing stuff. So I just recommend it, because it's time cost 3. It's really cheap. The next combat skill is Sparing Session. It's a time cost 5. And on the self, it gives you 10% of damage with melee skills, 5% of crit for melee skills, with a +5 of dodge. And if you give this to one of your companions, they'll get the same benefits. These buffs last for 4 battles. Really expensive stuff, but if you give it to a really strong melee attacker, maybe it won't be so bad. Give it to the leper, fine, but the leper won't be in a mark synergy team. So you'll probably give it to the bounty hunter, probably give it to the hound master. They're gonna just do the damage, man. They're just gonna wreck. They're gonna wreck some things. Hell, I would even mind giving it to the highwayman, because he has some pretty impressive melee skills. He has one marker attacking skill, but that's for at range. And most people don't like using the highwayman for that stuff. But then again, who cares? It's good. It's really, really good. I Just keep mindful on how expensive the time is. So just think about that. Don't go mindlessly picking this camping skill all the time. Just remember that. The next camping skill is this one. The warning bells. The warning bells is a time cost too, and on the self greatly reduces ambush chances. This lasts for 1 round. Yeah. I just thought, 1 round. What would you bet that on? If you weren't using the night protection? Because if you do get surprised with, the night ambush, it's gonna surprise your teammates. They're gonna get shuffled, and then what? It's over. I guess if you're running a team, like they already know, like if you're running a team that doesn't have any nightmare protection, I guess this is your bet. Yeah, this would be it right here. Whether you get it or not, better safe than sorry to have your team be shuffled around like that. So that's that. Keep in mind though, I guess this is also good too if you have teams like the Shield Breaker, because she's gonna have those night terrors, and if you're playing some modded characters, there's like 2 characters that I know that have a nightmare ambush gimmick, and I guess this would be really good to have if you don't want your teams to be shuffled. Like if you want the nightmare ambush, fine, but you don't want your team to be shuffled, so warning bells is okay. Plus it's cheap. The last camping skill is the hearing focus. This one is a time cost 1, and it has a negative 10% of scouting chances, a plus 15 chance of monster surprises, and a 20% chance of party surprise. These last for 4 battles. This is similar to, the scouting camping skills that most heroes have. The only difference is that those cost like 3 to 4 times. This one is just 1. Really cheap. As a half Asian Korean person, cheap is good. So I'm gonna tell you this right now. The 3 camping skills that the Thorn character has are very, very good because it's cheap. The only expensive one is this one, and I guess I would only pick it if you desperately need the boost with one of your melee hitters. Either they got a permanent debuff for that 1 round, or they're suffering through a morality debuff, something, or you just want the extra boost. You want that power, and you just feel like, I don't know, there's nothing else. Or maybe if you're using the fledgling, you give this to him, fine, screw it, he gets the buff. Overall, this is good, this is okay, this is really good, and this is expensively good, Gucci edition. So there you go, man. As for trinkets, well, I'm running these 2 right here. The Thorn has their own certain they have their own trinkets. They have this one, which does something to her repose, and these are just first rounds, except for the repose. The repose will always be permanent. She's got this one, but on hit may cancel your repose. She's got this one, which gives her stress, but hey, you get the damage and speed. And then you got this one where she has a chance to cut herself with that negative 25 accuracy. I guess you only run this if why would you run this anyway? She's also got this and this, but I like running the regular trinket that gives her this and this if you're playing passively. And if you're playing aggressively, I recommend. Alright, so here we are. If you're planning to use the offensive Thorn, you want to use something like this and this. You get this trinket to boost your reposes. You're going to be hitting even harder. Just keep in mind you'll be even stressed out even more. The plus 20 stress, with the stress that she's already getting when she's reposing, that's just something how it is, man. But it's Darkest Dungeon. It's not fair. Life's not fair. Overall, the Thorn character is really fun to experiment with, and depending on what build you come with at the very end, will be to your kind. The defensive ability is something that I feel like is really easy to understand, but not good in the beginning. In the beginning, you want to try to experiment with her offensive stuff. When you make her champion, then you can decide whether you want to stick with the defensive skills or just still go full on offensive skill. Okay, with that said, I would like to thank all of y'all for, checking out this video about the Thorn. She's a really fun character, really fun to experiment with. Even though she may be blind, but we can all see how well she is in combat, either supporting her teammates or just being full on aggressive. And with that said, I will leave a link in the description about the class mod character in case you want to check it out. I will also leave a timestamp just to give you an idea in how she is in the battle. And with that said, like, subscribe, all that jazz. And I hope that you can have enough time to plug out another class mod review, and I guess I'll see you in the next review. That's pretty much it. I suck at outros or whatever, so I'm just gonna end it here by saying, take care of yourself, stay safe, and have a nice day. Okay? Take care. Goodbye.
monstrous size has no intrinsic merit, unless inordinate exsanguination be considered a virtue.